I hope you're ready, because this is supposed to be, unironically, the greatest Starfield Bethesda fanboy video that has ever existed.
Well, it's been almost 9 years in the making, but Bethesda's Starfield is finally here. Not only a brand new IP for the company, but also heading into uncharted territory with the vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy as its sandbox. And in what's really been one of the absolute best years for
vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy as in nothing. Most people who have played Starfield wish that it was one planet, but at least it had stuff in it.
Gaming in recent memory, Starfield still manages to easily sit at the top of the pack and offer up an incredibly rewarding experience.
All statements made have been factual.
Now, playing through the Elder Scrolls Oblivion all those years ago was the first time a Bethesda game truly wowed me. During that moment after you leave the sewers at the end of the prologue and head outside to see the picturesque landscape of Cyrodiil and get utterly overwhelmed with possibilities. That's a feeling that I got early on in Starfield. Again, during its prologue sequence, as a spacecraft I'd soon come to call my own landed right in front of me, beckoning me to the stars and all those unexplored planets and star systems above.
This is, without a doubt, currently the most generous Starfield experience 5 minutes that I have ever heard anyone say. Wow. Okay? Starfield has the worst opening of any Bethesda game ever. By far, by the way.
Kind of feel like as developers that Bethesda have gotten to a point now where regardless of what they do, there's going to be naysayers, and that's definitely going to be the case for Starfield. I mean, people are going to hate on this thing just because it's Bethesda. They're going to hate on it because it's not a new Elder Scrolls or a new Fallout game. Or they're going to hate on it
No, not really, because it's shit. Yeah. Why are you looking for malice in something that doesn't have to have any malice? I hate Starfield because it's a simple failure. Bethesda took so much time into crafting one of the most blandest, forgettable, lamest experiences that has ever existed in gaming. If Golem wasn't this year, Starfield could easily be the runner-up for worst game of this year.
Because it's not available on their platform of choice.
Okay. You made your point.
There was even one particularly brain-dead mouth breather on Twitter making gross assumptions about the game's development based off just how the main menu looked. I mean, that's the kind of bizarre, uneducated vitriol that some people seem to have for this thing.
You think I like having to do this?
Wow.
I don't.
And I'm sure like a week or so from now, there's going to be YouTubers putting out videos telling us how Starfield is the worstest thing ever made as well. And yeah.
Most people, the vast majority of people, 100% agree with that statement. Loading screen simulator, it is.
Look, I'm not going to pretend like the whole thing is absolutely perfect, and I definitely experienced my fair share of bugs as well.
Talk to me.
But the fact of the matter is that Bethesda game studios have created something which a lot of people are going to be spending a lot of time with for the foreseeable future. And in the 45 plus hours...
Yeah, we call those people commonly as idiots. But it's true.
As I spent playing through this, I still felt like I was only really scratching the surface.
I completely don't understand this. Oh, I have only played 200 hours of Starfield, and I still feel like I'm scratching the surface. What is there to scratch? You go from planet to planet, you can make a ship, you can make an outpost, that's it. Does that sound complicated to you? Sounds kind of very self-explanatory and done in a million other games before. So, I completely fail to understand what these people mean when they say, "Oh, I'm just scratching the surface after 200 hours of the Starfield extravaganza experience." What do you find complicated about this game? What do you find new about this game? You pretty much experienced the whole game in the first, 2 hours of gameplay.
This is great! And all I've done is enter my name!
This is good news for the people who've been hyped up for this thing because they're definitely not going to be disappointed, but also
Also, by the way, I can already tell just from the videos that he has chose to show. For example, this cave right here. Man, he is cherry picking these locations. He is very much cherry picking the absolute best locations looks wise, because the average Starfield experience is nothing like this. Every location is dull, dreary, and guess what? The exact same as the last one.
It's good news for the people who've been hyped up for
Oop.
way through.
Oh, that's a misclick.
Mechanics, but also for the foreseeable future. And in the because they're definitely not going to be disappointed, but also bad news for the crowd of people who get upset over people liking things that they don't like.
Stop having fun immediately!
It manages to do so many new things, but then also still feel like it's tapping into that familiar creative well that these
What new things? They added VATs to ships, but not the actual combat. They added the Adoring Fan, which is, by the way, from a previous game of theirs, a really old one. I don't remember. I think it was... it was Oblivion. In any case, Starfield doesn't add anything new. We have seen every single thing in Starfield in a different game. There's not a single shred of anything new in this game.
Bethesda games are known for. Bringing back some familiar gameplay features and mechanics, but also doing it on a much grander scale. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger and grander than hopping around entire planetary systems. You've got role-playing, ground combat, space combat...
The space combat is shit, the ground combat is equally shit, but less shit than the space combat, I'll give you that. And the roleplay sucks because it was written by a 10-year-old. When there's evil, it's comically evil. The plot doesn't make any sense in a lot of cases. It's pretty dull, generic, and boring. I mean, no, seriously. The roleplay in this game is just absolutely horrible. You can't even kill any NPCs. Any NPC that has a name? Probably invulnerable. You can't... There's no role-playing possibilities in this game, essentially.
Cooking, weapon modding, armor modding, bounty hunting, and exploration all within your grasp. And even just the simple thing of seeing your ship docked at a random spaceport and being able to hop in.
Bounty hunting is just essentially you getting a marker and then there's someone you have to kill. It's the most quintessential definition of bounty hunting is something you do if you're bored.
Into it, then take off into the unknown is the vibe that's been captured effortlessly. And you know what's even sadder is that in the time that Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and now Starfield have come out, we still haven't seen the full release for Star Citizen, Lamau. Now, I don't think I can really say that I'm fully reviewing this because there really is just so much...
Oh, look at that. It's the Terror Morph. Terror Morphs are like Space Dead Claws, if you did not know. Only they take roughly all the ammo that you have to bring down to 50% health, and even then they're not dead. It's just woefully unbalanced.
Stuff to cover here, and so much you can do in experience. Plus, also quite a few spoilers, which I'd really rather not ruin.
Say my name.
I will say that I didn't
no
really get to
spoilers.
test every component. Like I did.
You are the Space Dragonborn. That's. This is the story of Skyrim in space. Unironically, 100% on the dot. The story of Skyrim, but in space. Instead, your Dragonborn shouts are even duller and lamer.
Didn't really get to try out the melee combat, for instance. Plus, there's a late game mechanic in the form of building outposts on planets that I barely touched upon as well. This is kind of similar to Fallout 4, where you can have all these self-sustaining structures that even farm the nearby areas for resources. And if anything, the fact that I still hadn't explored everything the game had on offer after 50 hours of playtime, well, that probably is just more to the game's favour as well.
He's right, you know.
Right, so in typical Bethesda fashion, you play as a nameless character during the game's opening. This time you're a miner who digs up some bizarre artifact, and after you come into contact with this thing, you get this really surreal 2001 style vision, seeing what looks like a map of some sorts amongst this field of stars, hence the name. After this, you're then thrown into that character creator, which a lot of people are going to spend a whole bunch of time in. Either self-inserting, because that's the patrician way to play these kind of games, or create some kind of horrifically ugly character for the memes, because, yeah, man, that's...
He's comparing it to Fallout 4. Fallout 4 allowed you to change everything on your character. This one doesn't. This one is a step back. But then again, Starfield is 2 steps back from every Bethesda game previously ever launched.
It's never been done before.
Oh my god!
By the way, after that you meet a guy named Barrett, part of a group of people called Constellation who are devoting all their time and resources to finding all these artifacts and uncovering their purpose.
Yeah, and you then join them. And they don't even try to convince you that you should join them or anything. They're just like, aha, you're a part of Constellation now. That, again, the roleplay is super lacking. You don't get a choice to question them. You don't get the choice to doubt them. Now, obviously, I don't mean you should... Well, it would be nice if you could actually say no to the main quest. That would be kind of kick-ass, not gonna lie. But, you know, I don't even want you to have the ability to say no to the main quest. It's the fact that they don't even... The dialogue is so poor. At no point do they give you a valid reason why you are a part of Constellation or why you should actually join Constellation. Their reasons for you joining, the reasons why you need to be there, are just non-existent. If you want to be convinced, then Starfield does not have a single dialogue in it that it's going to convince you of doing something and that's the right choice. It's either going to be comically evil, stupid, or something in between.
That fun, huh?
What follows after this is a bit of a tutorial that teaches you the basics of the game, from the ground combat, the ship combat, and then surveying planets, before you then end up at the city of New Atlantis and meet the other members of Barrett's group.
Welcome to Constellation. We have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
And this is where you'll spend maybe like the first hour or so walking around and listening to exposition as all this information gets laid out.
Yes. This is also one of the biggest downfalls of Starfield as a game. Every Fallout game, every Bethesda game pretty much has followed a very simple formula. Intro, you make your character, then there's some kind of sequence that introduces you slightly to the combat, to the dialogues, to the blah blah blahs, and then you get thrown into this vast open world and do whatever you want. Starfield does it. Well, it does it different. Let's just say different, okay? The first 20 minutes of you is just waiting until an NPC finishes their boring, no one cares dialogues. Essentially the mind part, okay? Every part of that is useless, boring, takes too long, doesn't feel impactful. Then Barrett shows up, and you need to kill a bunch of pirates. It's stupid, too fast, boring, bad introduction to combat. Then you get to experience a space fight with the pirates, and then you go clear out the pirate base. The clearing out of the pirate base part is not the worst part, honestly, but you know, still kind of shitty. Because it's 100% on rails. You don't have options here, okay? And then you get thrown into one of the major cities, which, if you play it like a Bethesda game, like you have played them before, that means you're talking to everyone. You're getting all the quests, you're getting all the side quests, you're experiencing everything. And in that city, it is poorly built, there's no mini-map, and the dialogues are shit. And the quests that it gives you, all except two, well, except one, I guess, except one, are quests where you just go to other cities and talk to other people. So essentially, if you're a Bethesda game fan, Starfield first roughly 5 to 6 hours of gameplay is gonna be you going through just main cities and just experiencing shitty dialogue. There is no combat, unless you specifically choose it, but considering there's like, there's one combat option and 10 other non-combat options, you're probably gonna pick the non-combat option, let's be real.
You see?
So, yeah, like the prologue is slow, but if you can't sit through an hour or so of exposition in a game you're expected to play for dozens of hours, well, then I don't know what to tell you except maybe learn a bit of patience.
He's right, you know.
Dude!
Anyway, after that, you then get missions to head off to these different planets with all the individual members.
Honestly, with commentary like that, I don't even think I need to add anything here.
Of Constellation to track down the artifacts. And it's almost kind of like a series of auditions for who's going to become your traveling companion.
We're going to do great things together. All of us.
Or even more than that if you want to put in the hard yards and try to jump their bones.
Then truly nothing can stop us.
It's almost kind of got that whole Mass Effect vibe to it, where each character's got their own backstory and unlockable mission, and you could spend hours just working through all of this stuff alone. I think it's also kind of awesome how your companion is able to comment on whatever you're doing at that point in time, so if you're in dialogue with someone during a mission, it's not uncommon for them to give their own 2 cents.
It's actually super uncommon. It's extremely uncommon for them to give their own 2 cents, by the way. It's gonna happen like one time every 50 dialogues at best. So yeah, good luck with that.
Loathe the trade authority.
Which is kind of insane given the sheer amount of missions on offer, and then considering how each of them can react differently to all your decisions.
The feeling is not mutual, and I am not the one with whom you...
This is not new by any standards. This was done in Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. Don't remember if it was Morrowind and no, you didn't have even companions there, did you? I don't remember. I only played those ones when I was a kid. That was a very long time ago. And you could do it in Fallout 4. So every game has given you the option of exactly this. So it's nothing new. And there, by the way, you had consequences for your companions not liking you. Here, there's no consequences for companions not liking you.
You should be trying to curry favor, Marco.
One of these side characters, a guy named Sam Coe, is even voiced by Adam Jensen himself, Elias Defexis. And look, one thing I won't stand for is slander against this guy's voice talents. I mean, it's just nice to see this guy in something else after Back for Blood. Yikes.
I've seen my fair share of scrapes.
Yeah?
Actually, a triple share with a massive bonus worth.
Most of the other members of Constellation are also some seriously likable people who all have their own takes and opinions on what the group's ultimate goal should be.
You are an...
There's no unique opinions. I should probably close the window. Someone's mowing grass outside. There are no there's no variety, okay? There is not a single companion that you can get that is actually evil. They're all helpful, they're all kind, they're all good. You don't have a companion that is bad, or even remotely comes close to those words.
Exceptionally curious human.
And I won't bullshit, like when everything finally came to an end, I kind of got a little bit emotional, given the scope and nature of what was actually happening. I mean, by the end of the main storyline, I'd definitely gotten attached to these people and even married one of them as well.
Really?
And all of this is just for the main plot itself,
Wow.
and what really makes Starfield so good is how you really can get completely lost in everything else and not even touch any of this stuff if you don't want to. Because apart from Constellation, there's multiple other factions you can get involved with, like becoming a Marine for the UC Vanguard and going down an entirely different quest line involving the creation of these monsters called Terramorphs, uncovering this conspiracy behind their origins, and eventually earning your citizenship and a swanky apartment as payment for a job well done.
Then, Captain,
Wow.
I'm pleased to welcome you into the United Colonies as a full citizen.
If you want to get your hands dirty, there's always work.
Oh, by the way, how much does that matter? None at all. No, none at all. Those are completely inconsequential. Becoming a citizen is completely inconsequential.
Working for the Ryujin Corporation or the Crimson Fleet. Working for Ryujin is more or less like...
Also, does not matter. You can be a pirate and kill civilians, and guess what? Not a single other faction is even gonna blink at you differently. Oh yeah. They don't care that you're a pirate. No one does. And by the way, as a pirate, you can't even kill other people as a... The pirates are gonna get mad if you kill people. Just, it's stupid. There's no consequences for your choices. This is not picking a side. This is, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna be on your side, and then I'm gonna be on your side.
Corporate espionage, carrying out shady business deals under cloak and dagger for these executives of this mega conglomerate.
Your next assignment is to remind the competitor of their place in the corporate food chain.
This is the quest line.
Guess how many options to betray them you have? 0. Exactly 0.
You're really going to want to focus on if you're going to sink points into stealth, or have enough persuasion points that you could sell cocaine to Pablo Escobar.
I'm listening.
The Crimson Fleet, on the other hand, are more or less like space pirates, going around hijacking other ships, smuggling contraband, and generally just getting up to no good. And the different quest lines for each of these factions can take hours to get through alone. And then aside from those main branches,
This is by the way, the Crimson Fleet is the worst quest line. Your quest line there is you want to join, and there's another guy who wants to join, and he wants to betray your boss, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna betray your boss, your enemy, that's gonna be like big, right? And you say no. Then he says you're stupid, and guess what? You have no option to kill that guy. You have no option even to tell the guy that he's gonna try and kill him and betray him. And then he does that 3 more times. Asks you, do you want to betray him now? And you say no. And then he threatens to remove you. To delete your Minecraft character even. You know? And guess what? You still can't betray him. You still can't tell on him to your boss. And you can't even kill him because if you attempt it, 1, he's invulnerable even after the quest. 2, the pirates are for some reason pissed that you're attacking someone who was not acquitted as a pirate and said, yeah, you're a piece of shit, we don't even want you. The guards get mad when you try to kill that guy. And after he, by the way, threatened you in broad daylight. Just saying.
Got access to different mission boards, where you can complete randomly generated assignments for extra credits, so there's never really any proper end to any of this. Even joining these factions has a bit of an effect down the line, bringing up unique dialogue responses. Like at one point I could use my connections to the Crimson Fleet to talk down a small group of these guys from terrorizing some nearby civilians.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
Leave them be.
So you're not only just walking through this virtual world, but also leaving a footprint everywhere you go.
Tough talk. But...
Also, by the way, this is just a speech check. He can fail it. It doesn't matter if he's the leader of the Crimson Fleet or whatever. It's a speech check that he can fail. It makes no sense.
You've backed it up so far, I'll admit.
A good example of how much stuff there is to see here is that at one point I headed off with Sam to find one of the artifacts, which brought us to his hometown of Aquila City. And then right from the get-go, I got embroiled in a hostage situation at the town's bank. Then ended up going off on a completely different tangent where I became a 3-star ranger, going off on an entirely new questline where I looked into why a mercenary group was attacking some nearby farmers. And this alone was another 3 or 4 hour long chain of events, which ended up with me even getting my very own badass looking spaceship. Not to mention the peace of mind of knowing that I was making an honest living.
Hey, all right. You get to carry a badge and everything.
Special Officer Doofy reporting.
And then, finally, after all that was said and done, I headed back to Aquila City with Sam and we picked things up again. And that right there is the Starfield experience. It's that constant loop of being sidetracked by everything. You head off with the sole intent to do one thing, but then end up getting distracted by 5 other things along the way. And then the whole thing just snowballs.
I mean, as in literally every game technically that, you know, is an exploration game and, you know, role-play game, but, you know, that's fine.
But it always feels like you're making the best use of your time. And Starfield is a game that is surprisingly good at making sure exploration never seems tedious.
What?
Bringing up your scanner shows the route to your next waypoint if you just want to get there as quickly as possible, and it even highlights items of interest in the environment to make looting a lot easier. Plus, an absolutely god-tier quality of life feature is being able to fast travel from pretty much anywhere. You don't always have to be...
A god-tier feature. The fact that in an exploration game you don't want to explore but only fast travel because exploration is pointless. A god-tier feature, he says. Wow. You boys were not wrong when you said that this is, without a doubt, the greatest fanboy video anyone has ever done on Starfield. Amazing. Also, this game is a load screen simulator, if you did not know.
Standing outside anymore to do this, which is good when you're in the bowels of some kind of building somewhere, and don't feel like trekking all the way back to the entrance just to magically teleport to where you want to go next. Plus, you've just always got multiple ways to do it, be it going in guns blazing, sneaking past, or putting that silver tongue to good use and smooth talking your way through.
That's truly awful.
And in regards to the gameplay, I'd probably break Starfield down into 4 main categories. You've got the ship and the ground combat, you've got the role-playing aspect, and then finally you've got exploring all these planets.
Yes?
Exploring planets is where it kind of reminds me the most of No Man's Sky. Now, this is where you can grab jump to any system, assuming you've got enough grav fuel to reach it, and then land on the surface of the planet and go around collecting resources or just investigating whatever landmarks it might have. You don't actually manually fly to these systems, you just pick the one you want from like a star map, and then if you've got enough...
Wait. Is he gonna defend this as saying, well, it would be boring and tedious if you actually had to fly it? Will he say that? Or is he just gonna say, oh, loading screens and fast travel is the greatest thing ever?
Fuel, you're on your way, loading screen aside. But most of the galaxy is more or less open to you right away. In fact, at one point you can even go to Mars and, if you really want to, take your mask off and let yourself slowly suffocate to death. Now, Bethesda have admitted that these planets were procedurally generated, at which point they apparently went back in and manually added in the structures and key areas, which is fine. I mean, I don't think it's really realistic to expect them to handcraft hundreds of unique planets. Most of these are also pretty bad.
Okay, well, at least we got the... Well, it's real... No, nothing about this game is realistic. You have space Dovahkiin powers. I like how they just throw around, oh, it's supposed to be realistic whenever they are confronted with some kind of bad criticism about it being shit. Oh, there's nothing to do on the planet. It's supposed to be real. No, none of this is realistic. Every planet is just a bunch of rocks. And the rare planets that aren't rocks, you wish they were rocks because they probably have way too many stupid dinosaurs on them.
Barren and lifeless as well, like No Man's Sky, which again is to be expected because if you think about it, not every single planet is going to be settled or completely colonized either. What makes them
No Man's Sky, by the way, he's lying. We have seen No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky has 50 billion more times details and stuff on planets than this.
Interesting and unique though are the different climates and conditions, as some planets might be like high in radiation, extremely hot or cold, or I don't know, just hazardous in general. And there's a whole subcategory of...
No, that's... I don't know, actually. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe some planets are hot or cold, but no one gives a shit. They all look the same.
Healing items just to deal with the overexposure to these harsher elements, like when you catch frostbite or get lung infections or radiation sickness. And then for armor, you've got spacesuits and then helmets with a suit underneath all of that, which has different specs and buffs as well. I've got to say too that I don't quite understand the criticism of not being able to run from one end of the planet to another in real time. I mean, does anyone really want to spend hours doing a complete loop from one end to the other?
No, obviously no one wants to do any of that. But the fact that you know that you can do adds to immersion, adds to enjoyment. The fact that you have a literal wall that tells you go fucking back is stupid and ruins my fun. I want to know that I can do that. I want to know that it's a possibility. Yeah, I'm never gonna do it. Max anyone would probably do is like 4 or 5 hours of running in a direction and seeing that there's nothing there. But at least you would know you can do it. And that's big. That adds so much to the enjoyment.
The other. And the people complaining about not being able to explore a planet from beginning to end are also the same people complaining that these locations are so lifeless and devoid of activity to begin with. I mean, yeah, imagine it. A planet like Mars doesn't have much going on. And I think if these people saw what photos of Mars actually looks like, well, they'd shit their pants. As it is, each planet has preset landing zones with a fixed amount of...
It's so... The realism argument is just so fucking stupid. Nothing in Starfield is realistic at all. Nothing even comes close to being even 100 realistic.
Locations to discover, like caves, abandoned facilities, or other landmarks. And outside of that, there's not really anything else to do, but there's more than enough.
By the way, I just want to explain how this guy is trying to cheat with the footage. Where is this? Okay, you see, this kind of looks cool, right? But you need to understand, this is a specific random location, and chances are the next one of the next 2 planets you land on is going to have the same thing. But this is a specific location. He's actually showing you the full location, most likely. And outside of this location, there's, again, nothing but a bunch of rocks and maybe, if you're lucky, a tree that's not floating in the air for no reason, right? And by the way, in this location, Yeah, maybe it looks cool for now, but there's nothing here. There's literally nothing here. There's probably 2 things that you can scan. And nothing else.
And outside of that, there's not
And again, even planets with this much on them are super rare.
really anything else to do, but there's more than enough even to see there alone, considering again that there's also supposedly like 1,000 of these to get through. It is definitely a bit of a stuff up though to not include drivable vehicles, because you can't do much more here than just kind of run around, which does become kind of tedious on those larger planets. Considering instead of a stamina bar per se, you've got oxygen and carbon dioxide, and you can only run around as long as these 2 both hold out. Afterwards, about all you can do is just kind of stand there and catch your breath. Literally. It's also a bit of a shame that you can't actually fly,
Which is stupid, by the way.
and land on planets in real time. You can either
Yep.
hang about in the planet's orbit, where all you can really do is get into combat with other ships, or choose a landing spot. And then once you do choose to land somewhere, the whole thing's just like a preset animation, which may as well be a loading screen. And it is still kind of...
It is a loading screen! Do you not understand that the landing animation is a loading screen? Dude!
a while to me how one of the only games that I've ever played that's captured that feeling of landing on a planet in real time is No Man's Sky. You know, even if that whole mechanic is hidden under smoke and mirrors. Most of these really just do seem to exist for getting extra resources, and it actually plays a pretty small part in the overall experience, considering all of the...
It plays no part in the overall experience. If you want resources at level 1 even, just go to a shop in any city, find a trader who sells that crap, and he's gonna give you all the late game materials in huge quantities for literally pennies. And bases are even more stupid because they just pump out infinity amounts of those resources pretty much instant.
The main missions really take place in those bigger cities. The few times you do have to go to a planet for a mission, it's to a very specific location that the game all but directly points you to. So if you just want to explore all of these and see what you can find, well, it's not the worst way to spend your time, and you're often rewarded for it at the end anyway, with a chest or two, often hiding away some useful loot.
What useful loot?
And I do think it's an awesome idea how your ships have got a cargo hold which can store the...
By the way, loot in this game is horrible.
...resources you pick up along the way. And then even better than that is that all the stuff you store here can be drawn upon when crafting and researching at any station you come across. So, yeah, obviously some planets have more going on than others, but if your major complaint here is that a random radiation-soaked planet on the butt crack of the solar system isn't teeming with an established civilization and a rich...
Yes, that, by the way, is exactly my complaint. Why? It should be teeming with shit.
...vibrant ecosystem, well then, I don't know, man, find something else to complain about.
No, it's a completely valid complaint. Why are the planets boring? What's the point of having a planet in a fucking game that has nothing interesting on it? Please, explain to me. What is the point of even having that?
And the reason I say that is that because the planets that are home to the many established settlements and cities are really the complete opposite and absolutely teeming with life and activity.
It feels lame, it feels boring, they feel dead. No, they're not. The moment you stop 10 seconds and look at what NPCs are doing, you're like, holy shit, all of them are brain damaged.
Right, mate. Sort me out, geezer. Please sort me out, geezer.
Now, I always remember the backlash that Skyrim got, with how some of those major capital cities only had like half a dozen houses in them, despite these being the supposed economic and social hubs, and the same thing too with Fallout 4, how people would criticize how lifeless some of these locations felt. Well, that's definitely not the case with...
Ironically, they still felt better than this. Look at all these fat fucking people. I mean, things walking around. No, I should say people, because you two. Look at them. All of them are fat and they look the same.
Starfield, and when you arrive at any of these main hubs, like New Atlantis, Aquila City, or Neon, all of which look vastly different in terms of the architecture, you're genuinely going to feel like you've stepped into a living and breathing place.
None of them look, except this place, none of them look different in architecture Mars is just slightly more grimy than Atlantis, and Neon is, you know, slightly more dark and has a little bit more purple in it than Atlantis. It's stupid.
Place. Been kind of funny seeing people heaping shit on the game prior to release, mulling over all that crappy leaked footage and low resolution gameplay clips, as if that's like an argument against the presentation. Firstly, because again, it's like these people haven't ever seen what an uninhabited planet looks like, but also because once you see the more lived in areas, you realize just how good Starfield's visuals actually are.
Yeah, some people unironically compared this garbage city to Cyberpunk 2077. It's not even fucking close. The Cyberpunk dumpsters have more resolution and detail than this whole city, than every city combined in Starfield. It's a joke. These cities feel lame, lifeless, and boring. That's why they didn't add a mini-map, because then you could explore all the nooks and crannies of these boring cities.
I mean, these cities, man, are just jam-packed with visual detail. You've got all these various vendors and merchants, you've got bars and restaurants, there's nightclubs, recruitment centers for the Rangers and the Vanguard, not to mention dozens and dozens of NPCs, all just walking around and going about their daily business.
Don't go causing trouble.
New Atlantis is really true to its name. It's an idyllic, picture-perfect city that serves as a shining beacon for humanity, where the streets are clean and devoid of violence and crime.
Hot diggity dog! This place is magnificent.
Jump into this system along with the many others, and you'll even have...
I honestly don't think I will be able to even watch this. This is too much for me. Jeez Louise. Ship combat. Oh my god, he's gonna talk about combat. What is he gonna say? That the combat doesn't feel like it's a bunch of bullet sponges? What is he gonna say? It's accurate? It's not accurate. You can be aiming at a guy's head and it still shoots in the direction of a chair in the opposite direction. Role-playing. It's non-existent. Visuals and print. Boys, I'm not gonna be... Wow. Well, I have to say, I have to give it to you. You were right. This is by far the biggest Starfield fanboy video out there. No questions. Was this guy's family kidnapped by Bethesda and he needed to do a phenomenal review about how phenomenal Starfield is? I can't. I can't. It's just... Everything this guy is saying is like, is this baby's first open world game? I understand that you could think this game is not that bad if you have never played anything but like COD, for example, in your life, and this is the first time you even see a roleplay element. But if you have, which he clearly has, how can you even consider this a game? It's a loading screen simulator. And your best comeback to, well, the game's boring and the planets are empty as well. They're realistic. I can't. I'm not going to be able to do here. There's no roleplay elements. The combat is shit. The ship combat is so shit I don't even want to usually mention it or go into it. And he has a section called It Just Works. Outro and always amazing Patreons. Well, that's good for you. At least you have Patreons. I think I'm done. I think I'm done with the video. This was G-Man Lives. What an absolute unquestionable time to be alive. What can I honestly say here? Wow. I'm kind of speechless. Yeah, I'm not going to sit through all of this. It's impossible. Everything he has said is an absolute over-exaggeration of the bare minimum turned into cope, turned into this is the greatest thing ever because none of your criticism is valid. This is honestly what most Starfield videos turn into, pretty much, when someone tries to be positive about the game. They're just talking about, well, all the people who say this game is bad, that's not true. It's not true. And that's it. Yeah, we're done. I'm done. This was Quizzer Sid saying thanks for watching. Subscribe, have already. May God have mercy on your soul.